Hari ini saya berkesempatan untuk hadir di acara B20 Summit Indonesia dan kita membahas banyak sekali mengenai topik-topik yang makro global yang sangat menarik. Ada beberapa poin yang penting menurut saya yang perlu kita perhatikan adalah mengenai mengenai ke healthcare, bahwa penting bagi kita untuk selalu menjaga kesehatan human being, sehingga ketahanan vaksin dan promotif sangat diperlukan. Kita juga membahas mengenai pentingnya solusi bagi untuk energi, yaitu green energy. Jadi kita perlu menjaga climate change kita dan kita perlu mendorong adanya zero emissions, ya, zero emissions. Jadi hilirisasi untuk baterai elektrik itu sangat penting. Yang ketiga juga kita membahas mengenai digitalisasi dan teknologi, artinya digitalisasi sudah sangat mengglobal dan kita harus menggunakan. Yang keempat, kita membahas mengenai empowerment, ya, education, future work, dan sebagainya.
First, innovation. The recent pandemic has boosted the adoption of digital technology, and yet the benefit and opportunity it offers has not been enjoyed equitably, with some of us lagging behind. To recover faster and grow stronger post-crisis, we need to build the foundation for equal and robust access to enablers of innovating, unlocking the potential of underserved parts of the population. Second, inclusion. Despite great progress in recent years, there is still a tendency to view the global economy from the perspective of enormous multinational companies. Yet, the driving force of human progress throughout history has been the small businesses, innovators, and entrepreneurs at the local level. This is why a key priority of Indonesia B20 is to champion development which is inclusive of all stakeholders, including the medium small enterprises, women, and other vulnerable groups. Last but not least, collaboration. The most pressing challenges we face today: climate change, pandemic risk, supply chain disruption, are borderless global issues. The pandemic taught us decisively that a threat to one is the threat to all. Thus, addressing the challenges demand well-orchestrated multi-stakeholder cooperation across industries, sectors, and countries, in particular the different backgrounds and socio-economic contexts between developed and developing countries, required different approaches and measures to bring out the best contribution from both ends.
In the G20 presidency, and what are the business opportunities for you? The first one, we with the Ministry of Finance, G20, achieved to establish the Global Pandemic Fund. $1.4 billion has been pledged from 24 institutions. Clear result. And this is the largest fifth ever in World Bank has ever created. So hopefully in the next 5 years, 10 years, it will increase the size of the fund to $10 billion, which is the gap annually. $10 billion annually, which is the gap that is needed to prepare the world from the future pandemic. What are the business opportunity for you? $10 billion in health sector. So start investing in health. So the second deliverables that we achieved. We also discussing while we finish the uses of fund, we will operationalize in the next year how the uses of fund. Because different with financial crisis, IMF can jump in and give the money to the balance sheet of the country, it's done. You only need the money. In health crisis, money is not enough. Indonesia have money, we don't have access to vaccine. We don't have access to therapeutics. We don't have access to diagnostic tools. So we have to translate money into emergency medical countermeasures. So that is what we have agreed, the mechanism globally. So access to this medical countermeasure will be just, will be equal. Will not only, like before, the rich country get access first. The poor country will have access at the end. So again, what are the business opportunity for you? Then business for emergency medical countermeasures, which is diagnostic, vaccine, therapeutics, or medicine, will growing very, very fast globally. So again, invest in health. The third deliverables is we understand that our enemy is not human being. Our enemy is pathogen, can be bacteria, virus, or parasite. So these pathogens need surveillance system. Like when you are being attacked by alien out of the country, globally all countries will link the radar system so they have a great surveillance if the enemy is coming from outside the earth. Now the same thing happens, we need to strengthen and link our radar system for pathogen. We call it a genome sequence lab. The lab that can identify whether the new pathogen arise in Indonesia or in Africa or in South America, but we need to link this lab of some pathogen is found somewhere else in the world. The genome sequence information can be shared quickly globally, so the best brain in the world, the best scientists in the world, can work on the diagnostic tool, on the vaccine, and on the medicine. And we agreed on that one. And what are the opportunities for you? This is an opportunity for you to move into biotechnology, because this is the biggest threat of humanity. So people, the government will politically be pushed to spend into this sector. The fourth agreement that we have achieved, we understand that during the pandemic, the problem is, or the response is, you stop the movement of people. Because when you stop the movement of people, you stop the movement of the virus. That is the very basic health minister response. When you do it, when you stop the movement of people, you stop the movement of goods. When you stop the movement of goods, you stop the movement of money. When you stop the movement of money, you create social issues. You only have health issue, you create social crisis. When you have social crisis, you have political crisis. So now we also identify these issues and we realize, hey, health ministers, when we have another pandemic, we understand that to stop the spreading of the virus, we have to limit, not stop, the movement of the people. People that carry emergency medical countermeasure, emergency goods like energy and food, they still have to move around. The pilot, the ship's crew, those are the people that need to be moved around. So let's have a digital health certificate acknowledged by WHO. If you have been vaccinated or tested properly, then you can move around. So for the next pandemic, instead of stopping the movement of the people 100%, which clock the economy globally, you can still provide some movement of the people. Indonesia has achieved, G20 country has agreed to have this digital certificate using WHO standard, and we will submit into the next World Health Assembly in Geneva as the revision to international health regulation. So hopefully for the next pandemic, we can still see some movement of the people, some movement of the goods, and movement of the economy. The number 5, the last thing that we have achieved in the health minister meeting of G20, we have agreed, especially in the southern G20 countries. The south of Africa is South Africa. The south in Asia is Turkey, Saudi Arabia, India, and Indonesia. In South of America is Brazil and Argentina. 7 countries in G20 has agreed. We need to redistribute the capability of research and development and manufacturing for vaccine, therapeutics, and diagnostic tools. Because it is scientifically wrong and ethically wrong, only to concentrate the treatment on a certain region. Because you cannot, stop the spread of the virus only in one country, because the virus spread all over the world. So it's scientifically wrong. If you believe, I will vaccinate my country only and I will be safe. Unless you can limit the movement of 8 billion people in the world, then you can do it. But it's impossible, right? And it is, more importantly, is ethically also wrong. So, ladies and gentlemen, huge opportunity in health. I will close it with my statement. Indonesia GDP cost per capita, health spending per capita is only $112. And our average life is 72 years. Malaysia is 432 with average life 76. US, average life 80 with $10,000 per capita. So let's see, Indonesian people population are aging. In the next 5 years, we become like Malaysia, 72 to 76, with the same healthcare system efficiency, which is we are not. Then our health cost per capita will increase from 112 to 430, $300 per capita. You multiply by 270 million people, that is an 81 billion opportunity upside. If we go to the US level, 11,000 or 10,000, you name it, 10,000 times 270 million, it will be 2,700 billion US dollar opportunity. So you pick your country when you do the future investment. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a follow-up. Minister Sadikin, just a follow-up on your last statement. So you mentioned that the enemy now is not human anymore, but is a virus, but also the enemy of investors and business communities is uncertainty. How can we ensure them, again, to pick the right country to invest, especially if there's an opportunity in the health industry, that the government will make sure, will guarantee that their investment is secure?
I'm a banker for 30 years. I'm only health minister for 1 year and 9 months. So, but I can share with you. I do understand when you try to direct investment or procurement that you can be sued in WTO. But I can assure you that if it is a government procurement, that you are safe. So for Indonesia, Pak Jokowi is very, very clear that for every government procurement, we will buy from the company that produce in the country, because under WTO rule is safe. And by the way, I don't know whether some of you coming from defense industry, but I can share with you, you're asking, what is the biggest enemy of human being? The biggest killer of natural disasters, if my memory is correct, is a flood, Yangtze River flood in 1930s, killing 4 million people. The biggest war, so fighting between human and human, is World War II and killed 50 million people. The biggest accident or war or disaster that killed most people historically is pandemic. Black Death in 1300 killed around 150 to 200 million people. So if you believe, businessmen, that you have to invest, you can spend trillions of US dollar in defense industry, assuming that the biggest enemy of humanity is human, then you are wrong. Historically, human death, the most coming from pathogen. So if I say this, I believe that all reasonable businessmen will start investing on health sector, because they kill most of the people. It's very close to my heart. So then start investing. I know that you still have to invest in tourism and energy, but prioritize health. And by the way, I'm a banker. I'm managing wealth. No, I'm managing health. I can assure you, the best wealth is health. So consider to change your profession. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to Minister Uno. So, Pak Sandi, we always want to have an inclusive, empowering, and sustainable digital ecosystem. But how to ensure this digital-ready mindset for individuals? And also, you deal a lot with micro, small, medium enterprises, which is the backbone of our economy. So how can we ensure that they all involved in this?
Thank you, Chairman Arsyad, for inviting me, and welcome to the wonderful Indonesia, the island of paradise of Bali, for participants of B20 from all around the world. I have been an investor for 25 years and also become a minister exactly a year and 10 months. So my mindset, my DNA is entrepreneur. So when you look at digitalizations within the tourism and creative economy, by the way, tourism and creative economy is a business of happiness. So when you have a pandemic, it's basically where the heart does hit of all sectors. We're seeing a catastrophic downturn never seen before in the tourism industry. We were down 80% in 2020 and even further down 75% in 2021. But thanks to all the hard works of Indonesians and the leadership of President Jokowi, we're able to recover, and this year, through digitalizations, through the support of micro, small, medium enterprises, we're able to add, we're on track to add 1.1 million new jobs and better quality jobs compared to the pre-pandemic numbers. And although we're not seeing yet the number of investments in this sector, I'm quite confident that within the next 3 to 5 years, we're able to attract between $6 to $8 billion of investments in the tourism and creative economy sectors. And if you guys don't invest, I will invest myself. Seriously, I think it's so big, the opportunity, and the impact to communities is huge in terms of tourism and creative economy is hitting on all 17 sustainable development goals. You name it. Every sector is from culinary, crafts, fashions, to hotel, restaurant, and cafe. It's been the backbone. When you were in Bali 2 years ago, it's like a ghost town. But now you come to Bali, you are almost fully digitalized here in Nusa Dua. When you walk into any hotel, now it's standard procedures, you have to log in to Peduli Lindungi. Except the Minister of Health passed me, he did not check in because he was in a rush. I was waiting and I want to show to him that I'm cleared, but he's rushing to be here. But anyway, that's besides the point. So that's digitalizations. Another digitalization is crowd control. Now, thanks to technology and digital, we can identify destinations that are ready with the certifications of cleanliness, health, safety, and environmental sustainability. We're very, very serious on this standard, and we're struggling because we're not yet over the pandemic. During these transitions, after 2 years, we're in hibernations. Concerts is almost sold out within less than 1 hour. And some events organizers are tempted to sell beyond capacity that is being sanctioned by the government. So with technology, you now can see which concert is better managed so that you will not have, knock on wood, situations like we see where concerts is overflown and overcapacity that is risking everybody's life. And the same with digitalizations with regards of reservations. In the past, tourism and creative economy workforce focus on reservations, but now with technology and digital, it's now shifted to become product reviewer, to become influencer, YouTuber, and a lot of new jobs are being created. So I guess we are not only recover together and recover stronger, I think with digitalizations, with green economy, with better global health architecture, we're gonna recover better.
Clear.
Okay,
While in the past we talk about think locally, act globally. But this time, bring global solutions to solve local problems. We have the capacity and ability to identify what are the problems of the local situations and then identify and bring in the global solutions. Now, the challenge is, of course, how to facilitate, regulate, and provide policies that make things happen. These are what we have achieved in the G20. But, of course, we have to translate it into real day-to-day operation. With regard to the financial services, this is the challenge to a certain extent. How could we provide regulatory environment, supervisory process with regard to the cross-border transactions that would allow the possibilities of the solutions coming in. But this is where the digital transformation, the issues of international support would come in. So I think this is more how we capitalize the presence of the solutions and, of course, the network of the global business in solving the local problems. So do not just rely on global governance commitments, which I said in the beginning would become even more difficult in the coming years because of the geopolitical tension. But focus on the solutions, identify the focus on the problems, identify the solutions, bring in them to the countries, and let us facilitate it. And this is where Indonesia is going to be one of the model in making this happen. The health sector already doing it, the digital creative economy already doing it. Now the financial services will facilitate that as well. And I think we will come to a lesson learned context of Indonesia that can certainly bring others some examples. Thank you.
Minister Tasrif?
Well, in order to accelerate the transition process, of course, government, we have to prepare such kind of a good policy in order to attract more investment to Indonesia. I fully agree with my colleague Pak Budi mentioned that health is very important. But I may say that no health there is if there is no energy. No tourists if there is no electricity. So, I would like to convey also the message that in order to accelerate the energy mix in our system within this 10 years, we plan to build 22 gigawatt of renewable in our system, and then estimately it will cost $50 billion.
So, when you have a crisis, most of the regulators like me see from a dangerous angle. But I believe most businessmen like you should see this as an opportunity. So this is the time to invest. Invest in energy, invest in tourism, invest in my friend's business from Phoenix in mining, because I saw them also sitting there, Kathleen and Richard. But you have to allocate your portfolio properly. Invest most of the money in health sector. Thank you.
Minister Uno.
I'm so captivated by Health Minister. I want to invest in health sector also. Anyway, Indonesia's ranking in the World Economic Forum in the tourism development have jumped 12 positions, and that has never been done in the past. So that was done during the last 18 months of the pandemic. We went into a whole series of analysis why we moved up past Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam. Hopefully those countries are not present here. And actually, the reason have been on two fronts. First, President Jokowi's prioritizations on 5 super priority destinations. And second, on inclusivity, meaning that tourism have been enable the sectors to include micro, small, medium enterprises, and we have 64 million micro, small, medium enterprises, contributing to about 97% of the jobs. And also, we have been the sectors that includes women and also young generations in all of the sectors, millennials and Gen Zs. So when we saw that, I quickly made a couple of changes, very strategic changes. Now in my ministry, it's the ministry with the most women in the leadership positions, having 4 deputies out of 7 deputies. Where are the women? I'm not here. Mana suaranya nih perempuan nih? See all the women. Why are all you sitting in the back? You should be up front, like in the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy. Second, to women and youth, we've been able also to focus on linking the creative economy. And now Indonesia's is 3rd in terms of contributions to GDP. The creative economy contributes close to 7.5% to GDP, making us only 3rd after the US with Hollywood, country music, Korea with K-pop and Korean dramas. And now Indonesia is number 3 in the world in terms of contributions to GDP, because we have when Korea have Korean dramas, they have drakor, we have drahor, drama horror. We are so good in making horror movies. Indonesians' ghosts are very scary. Try tonight in some of the destinations that offer this type of tourist experience. Second, we have also, when Korea have K-pop, we have D-pop. And D-pop stands for Dangdut Koplo. This is the only music that makes Bapak Presiden, Pak Jokowi can move a little bit during the National Independence Day celebration. So I believe inclusivity and bringing more of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, all the 3 pillars of the G20, which is the digitalizations, on the health issues, as well as sustainability. I want to close with sustainability, Mbak Andini Effendi, if I allow. We are responsible of 8% of global emissions, tourism and in particular the tourism sector. Why? It's because the travels. You guys travel from New York, from Phoenix. You know, it's contributing a lot, and that's 50% of the 8% that we contribute to global emissions. So we are hoping with digitalizations. Now we are offering with carbon footprint calculator. I've already calculated when you travel from New York, you have, if you travel business, you have to plant 64 mangrove trees. 64 mangrove trees. And you can do that in the Indonesia.travel website or our partner Gojek Tokopedia with jejak.in. And you could do it yourself here, not too far, there's a mangrove forest, or you could contribute. That way, you are actually doing offsetting of your carbon. Second, food. Food loss and food waste is contributing close to twice the weight of your body. On a per year basis, I weigh 70 kilograms, I would waste 140 kilograms of food. And that's contributing to the other 4%. So we are the first country in Southeast Asia to commit to reduce the industry carbon footprint by 4%, so 50% reductions by 2035, and hopefully by 2045, our sectors will be completely net zero, with all your help. And please support that here in Nusa Dua, after G20, we're going to be transported, thanks to Pa Arifin's support also, and other stakeholders. It's going to be all electric vehicle here in Nusa Dua, and by 2030, the whole of Bali, we want to be focused, and other tourist destinations will be all electric vehicle.
Understand?
Thank you, Minister.
That the last 5 years, our economy growing very well. Indonesia is transforming its economy, no longer rely on raw commodities. And if you look at this slide here, before like this, 2015 we are here, only $1.5 billion, and this year we are here. So you can see the difference. And look also our export also here, MHP battery also, look at this here, it's very, very beautiful. And we are here now, but we are soon going to here. That's why Robin is very important for CATL to be here, because he is our very good partner for this lithium battery. Hopefully by 2024, we can produce a lithium battery here with the CATL. And this is also downstream industry, our aiming for next largest petrochemical and in the world, in North Kalimantan. This is like $56 billion investment, and also they're going to produce also new energy battery, 265 gigawatt hour, could produce a 3 million EV, which is EV is very important also for us. We have 11 gigawatt hour hydropower potential in North Kalimantan, starting construction anytime first quarter next year. And improving efficiency through digitalization, including natural resources, this one, make in the country, our Indonesia, less and less corruption, and also less cost and state revenue and local industry and SME growing up. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is very important. Indonesian green industrialization strategy up to 2030, this one. If you look at this commodities, that we have a lot of commodities here, potential, abundant of very strategic commodities. And you look at also sector transition that we have a roadmap here, Robin, so don't worry, so you can enter, because Robin is a growing company right now. I hope it's going to be $300 billion company soon, yeah. And this is also the cross-cutting technology that we are aiming, and this is also the the sustainability, and that's our target 2030. So we do hope that by 2030 our income per capita is going to be around $10,000. And climate crisis, this is also the issue that we are targeting this one, where we are moving very much, very fast on this one. So if any country look at Indonesia, or maybe businessmen look at Indonesia like 8 years ago, forget it. This is Indonesia, new Indonesia, I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen. Indonesia committed to net zero emission in 2060 or sooner. This is, if you look at this data, next slide please. Yeah, this one, deforestation, we are, I think we commit, our commitment, we deliver very much, and we are doing very, very well. We are also encouraging adoption of renewable energy. You look at this also, the EV. And however, Indonesia will balance our emission target with the economic development target. If you look at this one, G20 member contribute 80% carbon emission to the global. And Indonesia contribute per capita 2.3 ton per capita, while the baseline 4.5 ton per capita, while the developed country, they contribute like 14.7 million ton per capita. I keep telling to my friend from the developed country, have to be fair, yeah? If you want to reduce the carbon emission, cannot be like this. Have to be like this and then like this. So I explained this to Secretary Yellen when I met her here. I said, Secretary, we have to be fair. You have to, cannot be like this. It have to be like this. Indonesia up from 2.3 maybe to 4.5 to 5, and US from 14.7 go down to around 5, and then we can go down together. That's, I think, fairness in this life. That's all my presentation. Thank you very much. Hopefully that you can get better understanding about Indonesia. Thank you very much. I think like developing country like Indonesia, like we have a lot of national resources. We like to see also, of course, the value added, because with the value added, then we can improve the quality of technology, quality of human resources, and others. Besides that, of course, our exports are going to be bigger, so make our economy stronger. But the issue later on, how do we keep the sustainable of this raw material? We love very much also to discuss with the Chinese technology, and we build right now in Morowali, that we can, extract again. I give example like nickel ore, the nickel ore from the used computer or lithium battery, etc., 99%, which is, I think, the very beautiful technology. So then we can manage now. We can see the equilibrium of the nickel supply and also the nickel extract from the lithium battery. So we care very much now. Like I mentioned many times everywhere, a lot of young people in Indonesia right now understand this thing. Nobody can dictate Indonesia on this anymore. So as long as benefit you and benefit us, we're going to do that. Not like 50 years ago, you just dig, and then you export. That's over. We're not going to happen again in Indonesia, because we like to see something happen in Indonesia. We like to see the value added. We like to see also the people of Indonesia enjoy the, the raw material that we have here. Not only that, I think, if you look at now, we have 10 integrated industry in eastern part of Indonesia. Now, polytechnic, good polytechnic, been there. Before, we don't have. Now, because of that, we have to improve the quality of the high school over there. Junior high school, elementary. So within 10 to 20 years, you can see Indonesia much different than today. So that's, I think, the importance of this policy. We're not going to be serving only the developed country. No. Developed country, I give you an example, the contribution of zero emission. Yeah, the 14.7%, this is because of developed country. Indonesia only 2.3%. I can say, we are a victim of your policy before, but we have also responsibility to the next generation of Indonesia. So any policy made by the government of Indonesia, also to the interest of the next generation of Indonesia. You have to keep in your mind this one.
The inclusive closed loop is a multi-stakeholder partnership model to create an ecosystem that comprehensively empower MSMEs, women in business, and other vulnerable economic groups to be part of local and global supply chains. The pledge is designed to create commitment of like-minded companies to support the economic growth of MSMEs by continuously adopting the inclusive, resilient, and sustainable practices.
B20 Wiki's key objectives and also features and how they relate overall to B20 Indonesia and G20 priorities.
Yeah, so our goal is to include medium-sized companies so that they can scale and be part of the global supply chain. Now, the way that we are going to do that is actually by creating a site, an information portal, where big companies can contribute and help these medium-sized companies along the way. So there's 3 key features really on the site. The first one is information, WikiLearn, right? So what it means is that we'll have stories of how medium-sized companies have succeeded abroad. We'll have details on how to do customs in Japan, in Indonesian and in Japanese for Japanese companies. And we'll have many types of information that will help these companies navigate the murkiness of export. The second part is DO, or digital and operations technology. So after they figure out where to expand, we want to help them upgrade their manufacturing capabilities, because so many large companies have built these capabilities to scale. And finally, the third feature is WikiScale, which is about matching the big companies who have access to export channels to Japan and Indonesia, so that they can bring small companies into their existing programs. So this is aligned with the digitalization as well as the Trade and Investment Task Force objective of creating a world where the SME mindset is digital. And we've worked with so many other working groups in B20 to make this happen. So please check it out, wikiexport.gp.
So how would you explain the aspirations of the Global One-Shot program, especially in relation to B20 and G20 priorities, Pak?
Okay. So first, I would like to say good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First, we must understand the background the context where we're coming from. So COVID-19 is a once-in-a-century pandemic that has impacted the life of millions. People have lost their jobs, their livelihoods, and it has widened the gap between the rich and the poor nations. So out of this experience, we need to learn that we need to shift the paradigm from curative to preventive measures. And the private sector will have a big contribution in making this effort work. Because we must know that the next pandemic may not wait another 100 years. It could come within the next few decades or within the next few years, and we must be prepared. But during COVID, we set up an extensive infrastructure to develop, manufacture, and distribute vaccines at a record pace. And we cannot let this go to waste. So, the Global One-Shot campaign aims to bring together key stakeholders, government, industry, and global health organizations around several key missions of consultation on the benefit of life course immunization. And we must also diversify the clinical research of novel vaccines, such as tuberculosis and malaria, for low-middle income countries. This campaign is also in line with the Trade and Investment Task Force's policy recommendation to facilitate the innovation, digitalization, and technology adoption to mitigate the next global risk. So, more importantly, this campaign also presents the industry's contribution to the impressive achievement of the Indonesia's G20 presidency in strengthening pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response, such as the establishment of the Pandemic Fund of $1.4 billion under the leadership of our Minister of Health, Bapak Budi Gunadi Sadikin, and our Minister of Finance, Ibu Sri Mulyani. Therefore, the One-Shot campaign has a mission, and its principle will turn all of these principles into concrete global health action. Thank you for your time and attention, and we wait for your support.
Everyone, I'm probably the only Indonesian company amongst these panelists, so I can bring a little bit of insights how very practical things that we've done in the last 3-4 years actually have materialized in driving sustainability. Take, for example, just now, I think Mr. Bill Winters mentioned that solar panel, in terms of capex costs, has dropped over 80%. So companies like us, we generate most of our energy from renewable sources because we're in the cellulose pulp business. But there's still 10% of our energy from fossil fuel. And what we did was, in 2020, we invested in our first megawatt of solar panel. And the payback at that point of time was 11 years. But because capex continued to drop in terms of solar panels, coal prices go up, so fossil fuel price go up. Our payback right now is less than 6.5 years, and we expanded our solar panel from 1 megawatt to 11 megawatt and 25 megawatt next year and 50 megawatt by 2025. My point being is, you don't need crazy innovation to actually implement sustainability. Take practical solutions that are already in existence, and private sectors like us, even Indonesia, this is not Europe, can actually make a big difference. In doing so, we're able to reduce our emissions over 5% in terms of our fossil fuel consumption. So these are very pragmatic solutions, and a lot of other companies in Indonesia are doing. And if we can do it in Indonesia, I think many other countries in the whole of ASEAN can also do it. That's first. Second, of course, Indonesia is always a big question of force. the threat of deforestation, land use change, etc. We're also in the plantation business. Actually, in COP21 in Paris 7 years ago, we pledged something called 1 for 1. So 1 hectare of plantation, but every hectare of plantation, we have 1 hectare of conservation. So private sectors actually have a huge role to play in nature-based solutions to reduce emissions. So in that process, we have about 150,000 hectares of restoration project in the beautiful province of Riau. And last year, it went through a Vera carbon audit, actually. It's one of the largest carbon projects registered, over 350 million tons of avoided emissions for 56 years. My point being is, you don't need crazy innovation. Take proven technologies, existing framework. It's not perfect, but not doing anything is not a solution.
Leaders. First, we are focusing on innovation to unlock post-crisis growth. This includes opening up digital opportunities across the economy, expanding cooperation for better cybercrime responses, and increasing funds for green infrastructure through innovative financing mechanisms, which accelerate the energy transition. Second, we are pushing for accelerated digital transformation. B20 Indonesia is turbocharging the empowerment of MSME and vulnerable groups by focusing on capability, entrepreneurship, job creation, and the empowerment of women-led MSME. We envision an uplift for workers in the informal economy, included in rural communities. And lastly, to realize a more equitable healthcare architecture, we are bolstering collaboration between developed and developing countries, particularly as we continue to fight to mitigate future global crises by creating guidelines on health emergency preparedness. In the spirit of our continued commitment beyond our presidency, B20 Indonesia has created 4 legacy programs. These are inspired by our most pressing priorities: green transition, inclusive growth, and equitable healthcare. Mr. President, you will meet with the G20 leaders tomorrow, and I hope you can advance these priorities to the G20 as a joint vision between government and businesses to achieve collaborative, sustainable, and inclusive growth. Once again, thank you, Mr. President, for your stewardship.
These 2 concepts have enabled Indonesia to maintain stability and improve prosperity over the last 20 years. We have tried to bring this sense of unity and collaborative action to this year's B20 proceeding. And with this year's, with the support of everyone involved, I do believe we have succeeded. Following the directive of His Excellency, President Joko Widodo, we established 3 major priorities for this year's B20 summit in line with G20 priorities that reflects issues of concern to both emerging markets and developed countries. These are the green economy, the empowerment of MSME and women, and the strengthening of global healthcare resilience. These 3 elements are key to ensuring collective, sustainable, and inclusive growth for all countries. In particular, I would like to highlight this, the first time that MSME has been highlighted as a major B20 topic despite the major role that small businesses play all over the world. With regard to the green economy, B20 Indonesia has already begun to take concrete actions. Within Indonesia, we are actively driving the green transition through various pathways, including industrial decarbonization and facilitating green investment. A carbon center of excellence has been established in the hopes of accelerating global collaboration on net zero initiative. We have also established the first net zero hub in Indonesia to drive and facilitate the private sector's commitment to net zero. The second priority is to promote inclusive growth by empowering MSME and women. To this end, we have established the One Global Women Empowerment Initiative, which aims to facilitate the inclusion of women in the global economy through training, support, guidance, funding, and more. This initiative will be hosted by the International Organization of Employers, which will act as a bridge between successive G20 and B20 presidencies. We have also set in motion a number of MSME initiatives, including a platform that facilitates Indonesian MSMEs to participate in the complex supply chains. Given that MSME account for 60% of Indonesia GDP, this is expected to unlock substantial growth, and we hope that these programs can be replicated elsewhere. The third priority is to create an equitable global healthcare system. B20 Indonesia has mounted the Global One Shot campaign, a campaign that aims to bring together government, industry, and global health organizations for the purpose of creating a permanent worldwide vaccination programs. This will help decrease vaccine inequality between the global South and the global North, and help close gaps in health infrastructures across population and region worldwide. As part of increasing healthcare resilience in Indonesia, we also have helped facilitate local manufacturing capabilities for vaccine, strengthening Indonesian pandemic preparedness and response capabilities. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, before I end my remarks, I would like to reemphasize the inclusive development framework I have introduced yesterday. The 5 Ps: peace, prosperity, people, planet, and partnership.